Hello, everybody. Welcome back with another episode of the Wilde Cabin Podcast. I hope you're all well. I truly do. I hope you're all smiling like you make me smile every day I record for you. So we got a very interesting topic today, one that's near and dear to my heart, and I've ranted many times before about it. I got an email saying, Joe, I'm being bullied. What do I do? I feel miserable and I don't know why they're bullying me. What do I do? God, that's a really fully loaded question, which I love. I see with the podcast, I don't know who's been with me through the beginning of all my journeys, which is very interesting. But bullying is something that it can happen anywhere now. It can happen anywhere. Now, unfortunately, I do not know why they're bullying you. But now let me go through what bullying has done for me. I got bullied a lot in school, why I got bullied, and maybe you could see some parallels, but everybody's different. See, 20 years ago, I was in school, and so far, I graduated in 2014, and then I did some classes privately, so I did school at home, but for like real estate, military stuff, psychology, and that was a little different. So I'm going to focus on middle school, high school. And I got bullied because I was in special education classes. Now, that being said, I was misdiagnosed on medication, and in a small town in New Jersey, there was like between maybe 6 and 12 kids max in a classroom. Max, like, you're lucky if you see 10. So unfortunately, it was like all the mentally challenged kids, and I was one of them. I was one of them, and I got misdiagnosed with a bunch of shit. And they put me on the wrong medication because, you know, they just didn't give a shit. Medicine back then was totally different, and it was where in such a small town where they'll just give you anything just to make you leave the office. So I got bullied mainly because I was different. I was just different. You know, a lot of kids, unfortunately, did get bullied in that class where all the jocks or anybody that just wanted to make themselves feel better, they picked on us. And some kids could handle it, and some kids would cry. You know, it's just, unfortunately, that's how it was. That was the meat chain until you get older, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Now, with that being said, I think we were taken very good care of, but in the social aspect, we were sort of like divided, which was fucking horrible now that I look back on it. You know, years and years past where, oh, these kids are different, don't go by them. You know, that was sort of like we had a disease because we were different. You know, don't bother so and so. You know, I don't want to use names because, you know, some people that I grew up with, you know, they just don't want to talk about it. I like talking about it because it made me learn a lot of things, even if I didn't realize it back then. You know, it's the craziest fucking shit. You know, I met a kid where I was taking like it wasn't an SAT, but it was the AITs or something like that. ATE or something like that. And we were every kid was in the whole auditorium at this point for this one section. And a kid looked at me, and it was a new year. And they're like, "Oh, wow, I've never seen you before." And I just looked at them, and I'm just like, yeah, because we get isolated because we're different. All the kids in there had something wrong with them. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. It's just, as someone that had something, some like to disclose that information. Some I still ponder, why the fuck were they in there today? I lost touch with a bunch of people, and I think it was for the best. Where, grew up in a small town. 80% of people stay there, and I just didn't want to. And it's crazy. I got bullied because I looked different. I was different because I was in a different classroom than them. And third of all, I just didn't give a fuck. And ever since I was at a young age, that was the biggest chip on my shoulder, where I just didn't care. I did not care. I got bullied by a jock one day. And my thing, music helped me all throughout my life, and it's amazing. I love music. There was this one day where a jock came up to two of us, and the only classes we had together with normies, which were people that were in normal classes, let's put it like that, was all the electives. So it was, some kids were supervised though. Some kids were supervised, meaning they had an older TA or an adult with them to take care of them, which, some needed that attention. And or they sat by themselves or whatnot with the TA, and they just listened. It very, very fucked up. But there was this one day in gym that I will never forget. And granted, did I make a good move? Probably not. So this jock was picking on me. And that's fine. I'm fine with physical damage. But for whatever reason, I just had enough. And he thought he was the smartest kid. Like, jock, very, very skinny, but I think he did track or some shit. I don't care. And he was circling his arms, like walking towards me and circling his arms, like preparing to punch me. And I'll never forget it. No teacher was around. That was the time where teachers didn't give a shit and the kids picked on other kids. And he was egging me on, and I just fucking sucker punched him right in the goddamn face on my right hook, and he fell down. Everybody looked, and teacher was nowhere to be seen, and I just knocked him the fuck out. Like, he was just on the floor, and boom. And never got picked on again with that kid. Never, because they knew. It unfortunately, in life, it is a food chain, and with that, you sort of need to know who's with you, who's against you, who to stay away from. That was my strategy, where I'm just like, I'm just gonna stay away from everybody because I don't trust anybody. And that was me very young. I had trust issues because I'm just like, I'm leaving all of you soon. Peace out. Okay, bye. Fuck off. And then unfortunately, there are just kids or adults even that just want attention and just want to stir up shit. There's people that cause trouble, and when they get in trouble, it's never their fault. I fucking hate those kids. I fucking hate those kids a lot. And it ranges, it ranges to so many things, because the biggest thing that I want to talk about is cyberbullying. And that's hard. That's hard, you know, where 20 years ago, I didn't have that, you know, but being in the entertainment business, you get that a lot. You get that, no matter who you are, you're gonna get more hate than likes, in my opinion. You're just not gonna get to the fact where everybody will like you. There's certain people where it's just like, okay, you know, that person's doing good in the world, how could I hate them? But it goes to the factor where that's where I think internet and media online is more consuming than real life. Because with that fact where there's people that are standing up from themselves from media and rumors, and I fully support that, you know. There's two sides to every coin, there's two sides to every story. That person needs to speak out. But on the other hand, they don't. Because if you get enough people in the community that's just so much hate, and no matter what the person says they think they're wrong, there's no point. There's no point in saying nothing. You know, it's better to be silent than say anything at all. Now, with bullying as well, there are times that you may have to take it in your own hands, where, you know, if you have a parent or parents that give a shit, tell them immediately. You know, if they ask, how's your day? Don't just be like, okay, slam your books on the ground, peace out, bye, go in your room. Parents will somewhat know, I would say, because a lot of parents now, I think, just have dropped the fucking ball on giving a shit, in my opinion. They just drop it, and they're just like, I'm not gonna pick this. I'll wait 15, 20 years to give a shit again. And that's the problem, where you basically have three options. Tell a parent, tell a teacher, or handle it your fucking self and suffer the consequences. Now, I have done a lot of shit with bullies because I got bullied a lot. You know, I have stories via both ends where the bully won, I won. It was just the common factor where nobody will give you an inch. It's just you have to show them up if you give a shit, you know? Years later, when I moved back to high school, all the bullies and everything just changed, you know? Sometimes people need time to develop, you know, with the immaturity, and you see that. You just see that because there's always going to be a reason for a bully to bully another person. That's just fact. You know, maybe they have a shitty life at home and they're taking it out on them. Maybe they're the popular kid and maybe they don't feel as popular. Who knows? They just want attention at certain stages of the game. And other people, like myself, could not give a shit about the food chain because I knew eventually all these friendships were gonna disappear. So I didn't really put that investment only in like 3 people that I could generally be like, oh no, they're still my friend. You know, they're the people that I generally care about, where I'm just like, yeah, no, we tight, you know, we blood. But it just goes to the factor where I feel really bad that I can't help as much with the topic about bullies, because there's so much. And I'm a realist, all right? I'm a kid. All right. I was a kid, and we were all kids at one point, and I give no disencouragement to the people that are like, "Oh man, bullies are eventually going to go away. Peace on earth," where no, I that's not going to happen. There's always going to be bullies no matter fucking what. It's just the consequences of them. Because there's bullies and fucking stupid people, and we'll talk about that a little later. But I think also, in my mind, physically and mentally, I was glad I was bullied and not somebody else. You know, there were just some people, especially in special education classes like myself, where they just couldn't handle it. You know, they would do something years later where they just couldn't handle the pressure, and they're gone. You know, that's the simple factor where I don't think a lot of people realize if you're doing it, there are so bad consequences via cyberbullying and real life bullying still to this day, where you just can't stop it. I think to a certain point, the teachers can't really see what's going on in the halls or whatever. They just can't. That's why you sometimes need a group of people with you. You know, develop more friendships or allies and find a common ground. Be like, I fucking hate that guy, or I fucking hate that girl. Where I know girl bullies that fuck shit up more than the male bullies. Girls could be vicious too. And this isn't just about guys where you may get fucking shoved in a locker or beat the fuck up, but girls will ruin your fucking life. I've seen some shit, alright? I remember in Arizona over here, a girl cut another girl's hair, and she just comes screaming out of the bathroom just like crying like I came out of a horror scene. I'm like, that girl is fucking traumatized now. And that's also the factor as well where principals, I'm not gonna shout out the school. I've seen some principals that do not give a flying fuck because they're friends with the parents that are the popular kids. They don't want to start fights. And it was always it was never your fault, even though if the other person did it, which was fucking crazy in my opinion. But that's this food chain, you know, everybody's linked with somebody, and that's the unfortunate life. Can we eventually all bind together? Nah. I mean, it made me stronger, and it made me push harder in years to come that I could do better than that person. You know, I look back on it, and some bullies got people knocked up at like 17 and did all fucking bad shit, where I look at them now and I'm like, I was afraid of that fucking guy. Like, I was afraid of that guy. That guy's rotting in a jail cell now, you know? And what also kept me sane is I had coping mechanisms. We've talked about this a few episodes ago, but it stays true, where I think, one, you may need a hobby to conquer it out. You may need a hobby in school, a hobby outside of school, or something just to fill your mind, just to disappear for the rest of the day or something. And just be like, oh man, I'm gonna play some video games to calm my mind. The batting cages always helped me. Always helped me. That's why I grew a love for baseball, where the vibration when you hit a fastball, it's one of the best feelings. The blisters on your hand, and punching bags really, really helped me. I never wore gloves when I had arguments with people, where I punched a fucking punching bag. My biggest bully was actually my stepfather. He was an awful piece of shit. He was an awful piece of shit. That brings me to, there are some battles that you just can't win. And it's unfortunate it's really unfortunate where you may have a battle with an adult and you're a kid, but the blame could always be on the kid. Where it doesn't matter if they're an adult at this point. They will always believe they're right, and they're stuck in their heads where they're just like, oh, I fucking bullied this little kid. I beat him up. Nah, he asked for it. He asked for it. He said hi to me, so I beat the shit out of him. No. And then at that point, you know, do you want to get the cops involved? Because at that certain point, that was the biggest thing, where that's the worst case scenario at that point, no matter how old you are, where the cops are going to listen to the story, but if they get sent to jail, your whole family's going to fucking hate you. Unfortunately, in my position, nobody fucking liked him out either. So if I did that, I think the world would have been a better place, but I would have lost my mom's love. So it was very complicated. Maybe I'll go into a rant about that. That'd be like a 3-hour, 5-hour episode. He's a piece of shit, but he's no longer in my life. He's no longer in anybody's life. He's not dead, but he's not welcome here. But it was crazy. It's crazy where there are so many elevations of bullies. It's just unfathomable where peace and love aren't gonna rule the school. If you sit at lunch with somebody and you got a shinier apple, at a certain point that kid may want your shinier apple and beat the shit out of you. Do I think physical violence has settled down? In my opinion, yes. I think physical violence has reduced, but with that being said, cyberbullies have increased tenfold within the last 10 years. So, in my opinion, you know, it's such a hard thing. If you don't know why you're bullied, I'm not going to say just go out and ask them, be like, why do you bully me? Because always confront the issue. I'm not denying that. Always confront the issue if it gets to a certain point, or just run and hide. You know, there's know their schedule, avoid their schedule, and that's it. That's it. I've done that. You could do it for like a good 2 years, good 3 years, because at that point you're done. Invest in a teacher best friend. Now, as I've said last episode, I love teachers. Teachers were one of my best friends in school. They gave a shit. Hell, looking back on it, it was fucking weird, but a majority of the time at lunches, I stayed with a teacher at lunch, eating and just shooting shit, playing games on their computer. And then I realized as an adult, oh my god, they could have been a pedophile. Crazy, huh? It's fucking crazy. We didn't have cameras or fucking nothing. Very cool guy, very nice, but you never know. You never know people fucking off camera. You know, you never know what the fuck they do. Now, self-defense is a big thing where a lot of kids took karate. All right, in our small fucking town in New Jersey, where they took karate. We didn't have taekwondo. We had tiger karate or something fucking like that. I can't remember the name, but it was very notorious. It was a white tiger and it was karate. I didn't take that shit. I didn't take that. Why? Because I went on jobs with my dad. My dad was a handyman. I was like, he was like Mr. Miyagi, and I didn't even fucking know it. All right, I'm lifting cinder blocks at 12 years old, getting hernias and shit. You're like, I can't do it. Do it. I'm like, okay. Dad noticed me. And I just pulled my fucking back out. And lifting doors and shit. I had the physical strength and never know what to do it for. You know? This is why I love farmers, and I respect them, because they work their ass off at such a young age, and people don't even know they're fucking ripped half the time, where they're just like, yeah, that's their body. They lift 10,000 pounds of hay a day. And for me, I didn't think I was big. All right, like, I wasn't jacked or anything, but I kept a very good physique, because every day after school, we're going to Home Depot, we're gonna lift some 2x4s, we're gonna fucking put a door in or some shit like that. And the rest day was painting. That was your rest day, where you could paint somebody's house, get no money for it, because I worked just as hard as he did, got nothing. Or setting up a TV, an old-fashioned TV. And that was the thing. That was my off day. That was my leg day. P.S. Just a random fact. I always like leg day. Love leg day. But it was just like, worst comes to worst, you gotta defend yourself. Now, okay, here's the biggest thing. When I moved to Arizona, I've learned one thing. Certain parts of a state could be batshit insane. People like bring guns to school, knives, switchblades. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I'm like, what the fuck? All right, there are just certain people you don't want to fuck with. You don't want to fuck with here. Where, yeah, we had gangs in Jersey, but no gang like told their kid, yeah, bring a fucking switchblade, okay? Okay, hey Tony, you bring a switchblade, you stab that kid, he stole your lunch, you take that lunch back and stab him in the heart. Fuck his bologna sandwich and rye. No, we didn't have that. But here, oh my god. Alright, I was terrified. Like, within a year, I'm like, there are some sketchy motherfuckers here. And I was terrified. And I think that was the culture shock, and I'm so glad I got it, where I'm just like, oh my god, there are people here that I will avoid because I am terrified. Where I'm not gonna be like, there are lions at school and there are mouses. I'm not gonna say that, because there's animals in between. You know, that may seem like it, but you just gotta find your own pack and stick together. Now, you may be saying to yourself, Joe, I'm a loner. I'm fucked. Nah, kid, nah. I was majority a loner too. Alright. My biggest thing that I did is I didn't notice anybody. That was my thing, where I just didn't notice nobody. Why? Because I always had my music in whenever I could. That was my thing. That was how I avoided majority of conversations, where I went in a corner. My every corner, every room has one. Keep that in mind. And you just ask the teacher, can I listen to music? Or, you know, is it music time? Because believe it or not, if you got your phone out in class, that shit would be taken away. Some schools, I talk to people via media, and they're like, oh yeah, we had phone time. What the fuck is phone time? I had a off-brand MP3 player. That's what I had. That's the shittiest thing ever. And sometimes it would just skip songs where it's like, abba dee dabba die, and the MP3 dies, but the battery lasts for fucking a week and a half. So I take that. And the charger port was so bad. Oh, I loved it. But that was my confrontation, where I'm just like, I don't want anything. Every time I walk through the halls, music. No doubt in my mind, I will put my music on and I will avoid people. I don't care if you're saying hi to me or giving me the finger. And believe it or not, giving the finger to me was sort of like a compliment, where that was my true friends, where it's just like, that's your way. Don't wave your hand, but just give me the finger, because I can't fucking hear you. That was my thing, where I'm just like, I can't hear anybody. I don't want to hear you. And the only voice you could hear are some teachers screaming, "Get off your iPad!" or like fucking whatever. I can't do it because my throat's sore, but she'll scream at the top of her lungs, get off your music. And I'm like, I'm in the hallway. And then you just run away. Why do you run away? Because she doesn't know your name, and she don't need to know your name, because you're that one weird kid. But yeah, that was my thing, where I developed reading lips to a certain point, because I blasted my music. Like, people gave me sign language to turn it down, because I just didn't care. There was only two classes that I remember, and it was the last 2 periods of the day, because I was charging my MP3 player. That's why I never ran out of battery, because in school I charged my shit, and it was amazing. Where I'm just like, you feel comfortable with the people that's in the room. They're not gonna start shit. You care about the assignments. Boom. All right, that's it. I'm done. And that would be my biggest advice, where you got to find your niche. You got to find the people that's with you, or you're gonna be like, I'm a warrior, I'm a survivor, and I'm gonna head this shit alone. And if you ever want to send more letters about more in-depth shit and following up this topic, I'd love to hear it in the weeks to come, because it is a serious matter. Bullies are a serious matter, and I got bullied for probably about 10 years straight with different kids, because they for one reason or another, I was just different. And that's just what it was. I was different. In art class, I drew shit nobody ever did, and the teacher respected it. And that's the one thing where teachers will respect you as long as you're putting in the effort. No matter how weird you are, you know, you may like anime, hentai, cartoons, video games that people don't know. It goes to a factor where it could be so many different scenarios, but the main golden rule for any age, and I don't give a fuck who you are, is be yourself. That's the biggest thing, because if you change for other people when you're younger, nobody will be an influence to you, where you will go to a light and you will follow that light just to impress somebody that you don't even give a shit about. And that's not cool. You got to follow whatever you want to do, or whoever you want to be. And that's just fact, you know. The culture has changed so much, and there's so many subcategories where people will go to school, have no friends, and then have thousands of friends online, which is remarkable. Which is remarkable, and it's such a good thing, but also a bad thing in a certain sense, because does it really develop social skills? You know, do you have that social skill later in life where you may need it? You know, we're turning to a point where I think eventually everything will be online. Everything will be online. Internet will cost thousands monthly to everybody, because you'll need that to instinctively survive. I think if we had a Y2K right now and the internet goes fucking kapush, a lot of people, probably about 70% of people in the whole entire world, could not function. That's the thing. I think if we had a Y2K right now, people would not know what the fuck to do. And that's why I always say you gotta have a balance. You gotta have a balance, because some things are just degrading, where people's senses of humor, they hear a noise on TikTok, they pee their pants, and it's not even fucking funny. And one word I really hate is normal people, where I reference normies, and we call them normies because they, they said they were normal and we were in special education classes. That was our little group where majority of us stuck together. Majority of us stuck together, except a few kids, and they got left alone. But it was that certain factor where a lot of things, in my opinion, can be degraded. And I think, excuse me. Ooh. I need a drink. Everybody, this is the time of the show where everybody needs a drink. Right now, I am drinking Powerade Zero Sugar Sports Drink White Cherry. Don't forget, people, pop your cherry. All right, here you go. Pop your cherry means pop that cap off, you sick perverts. But I think you got to find your niche, be yourself, and unfortunately, if you're left alone, then you may be alone for the rest of the school year. Because, believe it or not, I know this is going to sound crazy, but within the first 2 weeks of school, that is where you'll majority find your group. And with school being online, I can't really say about kids getting bullied, because I personally have not lived through that experience. And I don't even know if you could send messages to other kids. But I think bullying via forms of media, via the TikTok, the Instagram, Facebook, I think bullying has just increased. And there's bullying, and then there's other emotions like disdain, jealousy, rivalry. And there's just so many emotions now where it could be empty threats, but could also be life-changing, which is very interesting as well. Where in Jersey, when I was growing up, if somebody said, I'm gonna punch you in the face, they're gonna punch you in the face. All right? But now if you get somebody online saying the same thing, I'm gonna punch you in the face, majority of the time, they're not gonna punch you in the fucking face. And that's also a real thing, where threats have become more and more and more, and nothing happens. But at the time, you're scared for your life, And that's the thing where I'm very glad I didn't really get on media until I was in high school, where I had common ground, I had knowledge on my shoulders, and I didn't start posting stuff to like Twitch and YouTube until I was like 17 or 18, because I knew at that fact, if people watch me while I'm in school, they're gonna think of me differently. And that's also the thing where shitlings post shit on TikTok and they're like 8 or 12. And I don't get it. I just don't get it. I don't want to go on that topic because I'm just so out of touch. And I'm just not a parent. I'm just not a parent. So the certain factor of me blaming parents fully of, hey, look, know what your shitling posts or your gremlin, I can't say that. I can't say that because at the certain point where you sign that you're over 18, and unfortunately there have been several court cases where a child does something very inappropriate and the judge is just like, no, you're to blame, you signed this, fucking go to juvie or jail. And there's certain things now where normally if you asked me that 5 years ago, I'd be like, yeah, blame the fucking parents, all their fault. Don't give a 3-year-old a tablet. But that's the form. That's the world changing where when technology came out, majority with Facebook, Instagram, and everything, I was in high school. Kids slowly lost their spines and they become hunch over. That's the world now. Everybody's hunched over, looking at their phone, looking at something where you could have a TV on and a show going, but you're watching your phone instead because that's the norm. That is the cross generations where, oh, I just want audio, but visually I want my phone. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but that's how times have changed, where you could spot people from different generations now. And with that being said, where certain things have also changed, where who knows, maybe there could be no physical violence now because of technology, with cameras in every hallway and proof now where kids are afraid to get caught. And that's why they just jump online, where if you see somebody in the hallway, they wouldn't say, hey, go fuck yourself. They'll go on your profile and say, hey, go fuck yourself. And it's just such a strange thing because they just don't want the consequence anymore. That's what I think has come to it, where why commit a crime where you know you'll get caught, but if you do it online, you could just delete it right after. And that's the craziest thing, where more deaths have occurred with cyberbullying more than ever, and it's still going on, and you can't really stop it. That's one. There's foundations out there to notify people about cyberbullying, but you can't stop somebody from being like, oh, hey, I'm gonna be a troll or be an asshole or just ruin somebody's day. There's psychological reasons to that. And at the bottom line, truly wholeheartedly, some people could take it and some people can't. And I'm never saying rebuttal. That's the thing. I never rebutted because I just didn't give a shit. If they're picking on me or picking on somebody else that I care about or picking on somebody in general and you see it, why the fuck should that person's action matter to what they're doing to you? You know, at a certain point, they're like, yeah, at that day, you're like, oh man, I got beat up, or they're calling me names, but why should that affect you? You know, they're a peon in this world because they're looking down on somebody because they can't handle with their own emotions. That's really how it is. That's a psychological game. And majority of the time where I get hate via live stream and I could rebuttal live, that's the best part, because it's just like the community goes fucking nuts. They're just like, oh fuck, you got Joe started again, because it's psychological. It's psychological damage where, you know, you could be bullied and the bully could just have a worse life than you at home, or they know that they're not going anywhere. There's some negative connotations to that, where if you're content in life as a child, or a preteen or a teenager or an adult, you won't really have time to bully other people and say what they do not have or what they do not think. And it could be motivation for you. You know, I didn't really plan on moving to Arizona, but as an adult and lived what I lived, and seeing years later what those people did not accomplish, you know, something fucked up. You know, it's just like, oh, I'm not gonna say I'm better than them, but I'm fucking better than them, and fucking kiss my feet, you goddamn peon. And like the roles reversed, and it's just that time and point where it's a growing experience, and you can't let it get to you. You just can't psychologically, because once that's in your brain and you start believing what they say, or like if they call you a loser or some shit, like even the smallest thing that could psych down in your brain, that could mind fuck you for the rest of your life. And you don't need that. You don't need that. You know, you're better than what they're saying, and you need to realize that, where no matter what the factor may be, you're better than them. You don't need to deal with their shit, and that's it. Never tell anybody so good information that you must know. You could be like, oh man, Joe, they're my friends, you know, I want to tell them everything. My biggest thing also is earlier, look back on cliques. You know, cliques are still around, and if one friend says to be your friend but is also in like a popular group or a sports group, watch what they say, because that could also be a factor where they could be a rat and tell other people other information that you don't want other people to know. And that's the unfortunate thing. And that's why I had trust issues, because being in special education, why would a lot of people talk to us, you know? At a certain point, I just left fucking lunch, where I got lunch. I was always the first one in line. I was that kid, and there's kids out there, I've seen videos, and I'm like, that was me when I was little, that you run to the cafeteria so you get first dibs. It's true. Why do we do that? Because simply put, we don't want to waste our time talking to other people. We want to sit down with our group. We know that they'll be there with food in hand, and we could just shit talk, because that's our group. With me, I got my shit pieced out to the library. I'm playing goddamn Tetris for the next 40 minutes, 45 minutes. I ain't talking to nobody, because that's me. That's who I was. Where to a certain point, if you're more social, you'll develop butterfly wings more quickly and talk to more people, and it'll help you more in life. But for me, no, I didn't want to do that, because I just didn't give a shit. And that was my problem. I just didn't care about a lot of things at that age, because some days just felt like repeat. Like I'm just living the same goddamn life over and over again. I'm in Groundhog Day, and I just don't care about it. I don't care about it anymore. And I didn't mind people picking on me. I always thought it's better me than somebody else that can't handle it. That was always my spectrum, where I'm just like, no, I don't care. And people saw that, they took advantage of it. I'm like, here you go, just leave me the fuck alone, and I'll get on with my day, because I was my biggest bully. That's what it came down to, where I beat myself up years, like middle school and high school. I just beat myself up over the simplest shit. You know, I studied my heart out, and I still failed a test or some shit like that, and I just I just ridiculed myself for the whole fucking day. At points, bullies don't even have to bully me because I beat myself up. And being your own bully, let me tell you, it's not fun. It's not fun. I didn't want to cry. You know, that was my thing, where my dad always said crying, it was for a little bitch, and I didn't raise no little bitch or some shit like that. And he never cried. He only cried twice, as far as I know, and that was one on his wedding day, and when I was on my deathbed and the doctor came in saying, hey, your son's gonna die, and he just started crying, you know. And I still get choked up to it to this day, because seeing that is just like, oh man, a guy says, you know, crying is wrong, and I cried. So I intentionally beat myself up, punched myself. I remember one time I took a string of rope and gripped it, and I gave myself rope burn on my neck, because I'm just like, nobody's gonna see, and I just ripped it so hard, and that's what I did, and I just got rope burn, and it burned for like weeks after that, because it was the factor of, I knew I needed to be better, and I didn't know how to be better. Teachers, schools teach you one routine when I was growing up. Okay, study, and you'll do good in life, and remember the answer. And that was the thing. That was the thing. I'm like, I still fucking failed. And now there's so many ways to teach people, and it's phenomenal. And I wish, you know, I had that shit growing up. And what I resorted to make myself feel better was just to cheat. And I got tests mean fucking nothing, you know, because I'm slowly becoming more and more of a success as years pass, and you know, I really think I'm doing well. And now with Google, you can learn anything you want. And I'm not gonna say rely on Google. All right, if you're in school, don't fucking cheat on Google. Learn. But if that's not your way, fucking, you'll find your own way. And I'm not really worried about it. But being your own bully is not bringing back F's and D's. I cheated to make myself feel better in that moment. And when you don't care, you're gonna get the answers no matter what. And it's like writing shit on your arm, writing shit on a note, where the best thing ever was when teachers said it's an open book test, or you could use your notes on a test. Shit, I didn't write fucking shit in my notebook. I wrote the fucking answers. I wrote really small, the exact sentence that they're like, this is gonna be on this test. You write it really, really small. And majority of the time back then, back of the textbooks, they had the answers. That's how lazy my school was, keep in mind. And that's how I coped. But as an adult later in life, I did more physical shit, so I didn't really abuse myself. Video games, and just having a voice where it's just like, oh shit, my story could impact people. And that's what I did. That's honestly what I did. And there's just so many things. There's so many things. And if they're not physically bullying you, I think a lot more people need to not give a shit anymore. I think that I've realized where people just care too much about what people say, be it influencers talking to their fans, or whatever the factor may be, with millions and millions of followers, and they're like, I will feed every word you say. If you say punch myself in the face, I'll ask how hard. And it's just coming to a commodity where you got to realize at the end of the day, no matter what, if you're the bully, you're the bullier. We're all fucking humans. All right? Treat each other with goddamn respect, and that's it. That's honestly it. That's as simple as I can make it, where people have to have the thought process on, oh fuck, we're all humans, I don't want to bully another human. Don't fucking bully animals either, because that's just as worse as picking on animals. Just saying. Animals did nothing wrong, but humans could be a piece of shit. That doesn't mean treat them like a piece of shit sometimes. It's very interesting. It's a very debatable issue. All right. I would have said an eye for an eye years and years ago, but be the bigger person, be the bigger man or woman, and you'll look back on it years and you may be like, shit, that person was a bitch in school and they're a success. I don't know. You're the only person that can make yourself better and make yourself worse at the end of the day. And that's fact. That's fact. Don't let other people change your path in life. It's true. But lastly, thank you again. That's 2 weeks in a row where I'm getting emails with a question or a suggestion or a topic. So I greatly appreciate it. So now, if you have any of those questions, comments, or concerns, please email me at mrjoewilde@yahoo.com. And I'm really loving how this is going. I truly am. I love doing the podcast. I think we are definitely going to have some special guests in the community very soon. And we're going to talk about topics, or we may just shoot shit for an episode. I don't know, but I love doing this. Please follow me on media, or don't. I don't really care. I'm going to do this either way. Support does help, though. At Mr. Joe Wilde on all platforms. Don't forget the E at the end. And I hope you're happy because you made me happy. Thank you all very much, and I'll talk to you soon. And if you had a question or a different outlook on my topic, I'd still love to hear your response. So don't forget to send me a message anytime. Take care, and I'll see you all very, very soon. Bye-bye.